All right, let's pick up on one little detail from this prior tutorial, and that is the step here when we go from the normal map to applying a gradient, and that gradient, that's not the one that we apply. Well, there it is applied initially, but Dan had one already created earlier, and there it is. So that looks great, but how do we get to the same gradient, right? If we don't have that already, and what's the key to get that to look so good, right? So I figured, well, there are a couple of gradients. Let's see some of the predefined gradients. Here I actually tried that with one of the given predefined. Let me undo. And so we are at this stage here where we have the normal map applied, and then we go to color map to gradient. And of course there's a couple of different gradients, and they all look different, and none of them here are initialized. I don't have them used. This one here is there, but it's not really useful either. So you could spend a little bit of time here creating a gradient, or you could go to the gradients tool right here, and that's what you see when you click the this one here, lens flares and gradients and so on. So there is a bunch of preset gradients, and maybe one of them is close, but I haven't really seen one that's going to be exactly what you're looking for to really mimic the best way what we see in Dan's example. And that's basically because it's just one gradient here, going from dark to white to bright, or dark to bright and dark again. But if you look at his, it was a little bit different. It did have significantly more data in there to show. Right? It goes dark at the top, at the bottom. It's dark a little bit, and then very bright, and go into through a bright range, and then dark again, and then bright again, and dark, and then bright. So it has multiple occurrences of these brightness levels, and you can quite easily reproduce something like that. Well, I want to show you also how you can very easily reproduce that, and that's simply by copying it and telling Dogwaffle to build a gradient of the same transitions. So the way you do that is you grab this image, screen capture or something like that. So for example, I have this tool that I have print screen, and then I just grab it like this, and it opens it in Snagit. This is Snagit. All right, and in Snagit, you see I actually did that a little bit earlier. There's another capture I took. So once you have it in there, well, first of all, we'll take it, I'll Control C to copy that, and I'll put it into Howler. So I'm here with Howler ready to go. I can Control V perhaps, maybe I need the keyboard focus first there, and I can add it to the existing image, and it'll probably be put in the upper left corner. Or I could temporarily create a new image if I know how to quickly get back to this one. So let's do this. It just goes in the upper left corner, and I can, of course, I can do an undo to get back, or I can right click here. Or not, it wasn't actually stored or kept. So I'm going to go Control V, store it there. So now the question is, how do we turn this into a gradient going through these colors? All right, so let's scroll up a little bit. There you go. I have all the colors I want here, right? This entire transition of colors is what I want. I don't need to necessarily recreate the same map as a gradient. So I'm simply going to use, there's a tool here called the selection fader. That's not it. There's another one here, circular gradient grabber. That's the one, right? You can also see it right clicking on this tool here, and you'll see the gradient grabber tool, linear gradient grabber tool. And what you do is you simply click and drag from a start point to an end point. Right? You could even do this right here in the colored sections if you wanted to get a gradient going through these colors. And you can see now the gradients are somewhere in the sweep editor. There they are. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that tool, the gradient grabber, to pick simply the colors that are right here on this screenshot. So I'm going to go about here at the very bottom. I don't know if it should be black or white. Let's go into the white area. And then I'm going to simply go to the top. And sometimes I don't really need the whole thing, but in this case I want the whole gradient there. So I'm going to go grab this, and bingo, now it's in there. Now it may not be the exact absolute perfect match because maybe it's fewer pixels here, so it has a little bit of granularity or staircasing there. You can also smooth it or interpolate a little bit there, smooth the gradient. There you go. So that's better already. And if you press and hold it, it will do it a little bit more and wash it out some more. Not sure if that's desirable, but anyway, this is a gradient you can now work with, right? So I'm going to go back to the image here and simply do this thing here, filter, color. Now instead of map to gradient, I'm going to go to map the current gradient. Because if I use this one, it's going to show this tool with the 8 possible gradients to choose from, and it may not remember to use this one. It might. So let's try that one too. Let's go back, map to gradient. Yep, actually pretty good. It's the current gradient is being mapped there. It's actually here is a different gradient, but I should be able to find it here somewhere or not. And that's the thing, is that this tool here has its own idea of what each of these gradients are. So as I'm going to it, it may have lost the one I had there before. So let's go do that again, because I have lost it here too. Evidently, the better approach would be to simply go map to current gradient, but right now that current gradient is not the one we want. So I'm going to need that gradient here again. Let's go with the gradient grabber. Let's do this very quickly. Just about here. It's easier if you zoom in, you have a little bit more fine control of where exactly you grab it. But now here we have it, and of course there are tools to save this. You may want to export it. You may want to. There's a variety of things you might want to do to not lose it again. And then here we will now simply color map to current gradient, and so that's how that was done. So fairly quick and easy. If you see a gradient somewhere, if you see an image containing a gradient, you can easily make that your current gradient and then work with that. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.